If Donald Trump comes back to office, what's the first thing you'd like to see him do as president?
Open up the pipeline,
Because,
lower the fuel and all this and that like we did before. The groceries were crazy.
you know, the price of gas is only a little higher now than it was on the last day that President Trump was in office. Do you think presidents have much to do with the price of oil, price of gas?
I think the when they shut the pipeline down, I think he did. Yeah,
And that changed it all there.
I think so.
And what about the pandemic? Did that have any effect?
It may be a little, but like you said, I think there's something more fishy about that pandemic. I think China.
I mean, they intentionally did it?
Thinking so.
What makes you think that?
Because I don't know. I just think so.
There's a deeper truth behind this clip.
I mean, they intentionally did it?
Thinking so.
What makes you think that?
Because I don't know. I just think so.
All it took was for Michael Shore to ask a simple follow-up question, for the man to admit that he doesn't believe the things that he is saying he does. The phrase, "I don't know, I just think so," is so telling here, because it is the unofficial motto of the right wing in America. Jumping to conclusions without any substantial evidence or facts to back up any of what they're saying. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, their beliefs are fueled by a deeper level of bigotry. Like, remember this moment during John McCain's campaign in 2008?
I got to ask you a question. I do not I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No?
No, ma'am. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thank you. Thank you.
This clip is over 15 years old, and it still perfectly illustrates the sad state of the Republican Party and its decline over the last several years. The Republican Party has been eager to embrace a narrative that distorts the truth in exchange for one that embraces their political narratives. And nothing has changed. The same things that motivated Republican voters back then still motivate them today. And I wouldn't be too mad about this if we also didn't have to contend with conservative grifters like Ben Shapiro, who release ridiculous books like this, suggesting any sort of notion that Republicans are somehow charting their course with any reason or logic involved. The Republicans champion themselves as hardened warriors, unafraid to meet the challenge of the world as hefty and militant traditionalists. But really, it's conservatives who are the snowflakes, because conservatives care about feelings, but only those that validate their political fears, validate their facts, and protect their agendas. I think progressives, for a large part, believe that feelings are a fact of life, which takes a much more measured approach that complicates the political process. But Ben Shapiro and his Republican peers would rather ignore the adult definition of politics and instead drive themselves to intense delusion and irreverent tantrum, ultimately culminating in an attempted coup of the Capitol.
Okay, you're on. Ask questions.
I got up, I broke through. DC police sprayed me, maced me, beat me in the head with batons, kicked me in the side of the head, and was beating me on the back with the batons.
Look, you can see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Look at his eyes.
That's what the DC police is willing to do to the American people. To support these son of...
It's funny that now it's Republicans who are threatened by the police and the threat of brutality. But to those defending officers, fighting back against a mob who was threatening to kill congressional leaders, The January 6th riot was no joke. But this speaks to the implied victimhood of the right, who consider their actions as unwarranted for repercussions, but clap when an unarmed black man gets shot down by police. But the irony lies in his implication of the American people, because it was insurrectionists who attacked the Capitol that day. And now let's just let that sink in. Members of his own party literally tried to overthrow the United States government because they felt that the election results were fake, despite having absolutely no evidence to prove otherwise. People like Ben Shapiro call leftists snowflakes and claim that they don't live in reality, when in actual reality, people who are fans of Ben Shapiro were the ones storming the Capitol. Because they can't come face to face with the fact that Trump lost. This is the absurdity of the conservative party. Stubborn in their beliefs, but so unabashedly committed. Committed to their ends, whether that be money or power or tradition or relevancy. The moral and political corruption and the intellectual laziness of the Republican Party is astonishing. And the worst part is that we can't even blame our hindsight, because it's 2020. We saw this coming even all the way back when, in the days of McCain. But leading right-wing leaders refused to nip this fascist flower in the bud. And now there's nothing else to say except,
I don't know. I just think so.
This is Adrian Costa with Rebel HQ. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check back for more videos. See you guys soon.
Professor Terence Tao is the equivalent of a rock star in mathematics.
Regarded as the greatest mathematician alive.
As long as I can remember, I have always loved numbers and puzzles and patterns. Sometimes because of the way it's taught, innate mathematical ability doesn't feel connected to the way we learn math. But I think we all have an innate ability for mathematics. Knowing how to think mathematically can be a tool that you can use to solve problems in a systematic way. I like to think that this class is for anyone, really. In fact, maybe this class is even more suitable for people who have not had formal mathematical training. I'm not going to give you homework. The way I approached problems in mathematics was to try to turn it into a game. A large part of this class will be about talking about problem solving. We abstract them, we break them up into pieces, we make analogies, we try to find connections with other problems. The first player who can collect 3 numbers that add up to 15 wins the game. Playing this game is quite challenging if you don't know the trick. You can transform this to a much more familiar game, tic-tac-toe. People often anthropomorphize mathematical objects. They call this guy the enemy, this guy is your friend. Some people call them slightly more obscene names. Okay, but in this class, you'll appreciate a little bit more what mathematics is, how we solve problems, and how some of these strategies can be of use to you in your daily life. The ideal problem to work on is one which is just barely outside of your reach. It's not so much whether you succeed or fail at a question, but it's whether you can learn something from it. My name is Terence Tao, and this is Masterclass.
Looking for a great deal on your next trip?
If he were to lose a presidential election for the second time, how would that affect you?
I would feel that the media manipulated it again. It's kind of hard to put into words the way I feel about what's going on in today, without getting overly emotional about it.
Tell me about if Donald Trump does not win, what do you do?
I hope that I'm going to die.
You want to die if Donald Trump doesn't win?
I don't want to live like this anymore. You like our country the way it is now?
What will you do if former President Trump were to lose again?
Well, depending on how honest of an election it looked like it was. If it was honest and run correctly, I would accept it. If it wasn't, I would not accept it.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Then maybe we'll have to make him king.
Would we want to go back to a monarchy?
You don't know what's going to happen.
Would you be, if they decided to go back to a monarchy and make Donald Trump the king, would you be okay with that?
I would do that versus what we're at now. Now we have so much communism coming in and trying to take over our country, and they've been here for 20 years trying to, and they've been accomplishing it. They're good.
Would you be specific about that a little bit? Like when you say the communism coming into the country, where in the form of?
Infiltration throughout the system. I think they've gotten into a lot of your local. I think the coasts have it a lot more than we do, but maybe it's just more obvious on the coast. You never know.
Do you think that any of the legal problems that the former president's having are going to hurt him in this coming election?
No, it makes him stronger.
In what way?
It's kind of like in the Bible. It says that God will put you through a furnace and you'll come out like stainless steel in the end. If you don't have tribulation and you stand for God, you must not be totally standing for him, because that's where we're at.
The fact that we're trying to, what's the word? That we're trying to blackball somebody that is clearly the front runner when it comes to this next election is insulting. You have to dig so deep, especially when it comes to the media and YouTube and things like that. You have to dig so deep to find the truth. And then once the truth comes out, you're like, well, I wasted all this other time when it could have just come out in honest journalism.
Where do you get your news from generally?
Generally, I go to independent sources, Steven Crowder. I like that Steven Crowder has a web page that you can fact check everything that he says. I dabble in a little bit here and there. I kind of do my due diligence. I know your network, and there's agreements and disagreements in every media. I go where it's truest, in my opinion.
So what do you trust?
I trust Donald Trump. I trust Donald Trump, and what really upsets me the most is everybody remembers that one little blip that Billy Bush put out there when he first started to run.
About grabbing the...
Yeah, that's the...
I mean, that was pretty memorable.
Well, why is that memorable? Why isn't it memorable the things that he did do?
Well, he's been indicted in 4 different cases and 91 criminal charges.
That stuff is true. You know it's not.
I don't know whether it's true or not. I just know that. No, I just know that No, I'm just a journalist who sees that he's been in. I mean, so how do you explain all these charges? How do you explain all? What's going on?
They're all made up.
They're all made up.
Yep. They're all made up.
So the election interference in Georgia, Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesebro, who worked for Donald Trump as lawyers, they just pled guilty and admitted.
I don't believe that either.
You don't believe they pled guilty?
Nope.
So when they said that they were...
I never turn on the news. I never turn on the TV. I never listen to any of that.
So where do you get your information if you don't watch the news?
I get my information from Telegram.
From Telegram. Are there any liberal or progressive voices on Telegram?
I don't have any idea.
There are not. Is it important to hear from people who have a different point of view than you?
I'd like to sit down with a liberal someday and have them tell me what it is that they think is so great about what's going on right now. But they won't talk to you about it.
What particular issue would you like to talk about?
I don't know. What do you think is so great about what's going on right now?
I think what's so great is that people who are in the United States now have more opportunities than anywhere else around the world.
When's the last time you paid for a loaf of bread?
I just went to the store the other day, and I was glad to see that inflation is down.
Oh, no. We can't talk anymore.
Unemployment is down. My 401k is doing great. Your 401k is doing great. The markets are awesome.
No. I can't even see. That's why I can't talk to a liberal.
Well, if we can't talk to each other, what are we going to do?
Navigating.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
Sir, come on, what is it now, please? Okay, couple of things. I want to know on the double. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And oh yeah, I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn good on me. Let us know.
This is your last warning, insects.
Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion! Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We're facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark craft. General!
Celebration. The amateurs for suicide mission.